Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only podcast falling apart faster than the Cardinal bullpen. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Ben Samarka.
Hey, Nate H.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone, you survived a weekend at Coachella. You're back. Fortunately for you, good weekend to be away from watching Cardinal baseball.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was. That's all I was going to say. I felt very happy with my timing there.
Well, we're going to talk about your weekend and the last week of Cardinal baseball here in a minute, but we got a few things to cover first. So last week, I talked about running in the Cardinal 5K this weekend, or this most recent weekend. It was postponed due to rain. So
can't run in the rain, I guess. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, something about lightning and city streets and that sort of stuff. I don't know. I was ready to go.
Yeah, whatever.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 5K.
Yeah, odds of...
Or is it they don't want you people messing up the field? Is that maybe more what it's about?
So that is part of it, actually. There's like tiers of cancellation. There was a... tiers of cancellation sounds like a
hardcore band,
right? yeah, or like a right wing.
Oh God,
screed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was like they're maybe just going to cancel the going out on the field part of it if we were going to mess up the track because of all the rain, and then it was cancel the whole thing if there's like thunder and lightning. So May 31st. So if you're out there and you did not sign up, but you wanted to, and you just didn't feel like you were prepared, you got another month and a week or two to sign up and join. It's always a good time. And this weekend, though, we got another little weekend away. Listeners of the show for a long time now might remember that every spring, Ben and I get together. My family owns some property down at the Lake of the Ozarks, and my dad loves to host a yearly fishing tournament. And this is, at least for me, the once a year I go fishing, basically. I know you do like a little bit more with another trip, but both of us do not fish very often. And this is a tournament of almost exclusively retired people with their own boats and gear and a ton of time. And we have historically gotten crushed. So here we go again, Hambone. How you feeling about this? How you feeling about this weekend?
It's like a high school team playing against a major league club. It is. It's a joke. I mean, they all have boats that cost more than my car. Like they're all. I mean, there was a guy that we were fishing with last year. I believe that he had a lure that had a sonar attachment to it and like an iPad that it was reading out to on his boat. And you and I think our buddy Chris just went to Bass Pro. He probably spent $100 or whatever, and we're gonna let it rip. I will say, we'll be around longer than they are, so we win ultimately. There is a tournament where we will just show up and they'll all be gone, so we'll have one at some point. But yeah, I mean it's a slaughter every year. But you know what? I have a good time.
What
playing the
You're
long
right.
game.
We are going to
playing
win
the long game.
We're playing the long game here
because that's the only option we have.
That's really all we've got. Is at some point we're going to be able to go down there and claim victory by fact that we're the only ones there. Wow, what a positive view on this tournament. And my father and
I'm thinking about this now. There is another generation right behind us, your kids and Chris's kid, and they wouldn't be surprised if they just lap us. So maybe I shouldn't.
No, I imagine the bar is just
hatch.
getting low. Yeah, the bar is just getting lower and lower.
When I remember when men were men.
Right. We used to wear hats. Yeah. I'm not hopeful about our chances of winning this year. Last year we did okay. We had a singular good day where we caught more fish, I think, than the entirety of every tournament combined.
Yeah.
You of course gave up about 20 minutes into the tournament and just chilled on the boat all day.
I was
So we'll
killing
see
it.
how.
Some people are saying I actually had the best tournament.
You might. I mean, it depends on the unit of measurement. If it's succeeding at the tournament as the rules are written, no, dead.
Yeah, well, sure. Right.
Far bottom. But
but also reading's lame, so who needs it?
Like Megan Trainor once said, "Fuck teachers."
Did she say that?
Yes.
Huh. That's interesting. That's a hot take.
A super reasonable thing for an adult to feel.
Interesting. Okay.
So we'll be going out this weekend to mostly just to listen to music and hang out, but also try to catch some fish in between. So wish us luck. One way or another, we're going to take down these old men. But I want to hear about Coachella. You just spent a weekend in the desert or some polo grounds or something like that.
Yep.
Hanging out with the nation's wealthiest. How was your weekend? Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. It was weird. We've talked about it. We saw a ton of music, of course, because that's kind of the whole thing. But usually there's always like a set or two where you're like, oh, we should not have gone to this set, or man, that guy was drunk on stage. He is not, he's playing the same song over and over. That happened one time. Shout out Freddie Gibbs, where he played the same song, I think 3 or 4 times in a row. We didn't have any sets like this. It was all good.
What do you think's going on there? I got to stop you on that one. They played the same song 3 or 4 times in a row.
Yeah. So Freddie Gibbs is clearly hammered drunk, and he's half rapping a song, and he goes, "DJ, play that back," and he just played the whole song again and did that. It was 3 or 4 times. I can't remember what it totaled to, but yeah. Yo, play that big back. That shit was hot.
Okay, all right, and everyone's like, "Well, you're the boss."
Freddie Gibbs,
boss, I guess.
What are they gonna do?
Yeah, you're like, "Oh, this is the easiest set I've ever played."
Yeah,
the same thing 4 times in a row. All right, sorry. So there were no Gibbs-esque sets this week.
Yeah, no. Everybody killed it. We had a great time. We had a small crew. It's usually we have like certain people pop in and out year to year basis, but this year it's just my lovely wife, my little brother, and his lovely girlfriend. So we had a small crew. Which means you can like move fast. We were going from set to set and. Ate a shitload of spicy pie.
Samorca is not typically known for moving fast, so this was quite a weekend for you too.
We averaged this year 13 miles a day.
Nice. That's a half marathon right there.
I know. It was great. I had my stupid running watch on tracking that shit, and 13 miles a day, which is too much. But it was great. Lady Gaga was. I don't know if anybody watched the live stream or if you care about Lady Gaga. I would say even if you don't, it was just one of the coolest shows I've ever seen, ever. Like it was like a 5-act story and multiple set pieces and costumes, and she's an amazing live singer, and it was great.
I like her a lot.
I think if you think you don't like Lady Gaga, like go listen to her. She's just so good. She's one of the most famous artists in the world for a reason. She's great.
Right.
Oh, you know what? I lied, Nate. There was one bad set.
Uh-oh.
The Misfits. I was really excited about them. They were actually playing at the same time as Travis Scott. Travis Scott's not my jam. I think I'm too old or whatever. But so we went to the Misfits show, which I was like, this is going to be great. It's the original lineup. Everyone knows Glenn Danzig is an asshole, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime show, and he starts it off by saying he's playing loud punk music, and he's not doing that woke shit. And it was really weird because they're like a punk band, which is like I think like proto-wokeness, right? They're kind of saying like this establishment is not working for everyone. And he started doing bits about the California fires and how they were started by something that wasn't natural, and definitely intimating that it was a certain group of religious folks that may have been responsible for that. So we walked out about halfway through that set because it was a little too much for me. But
like whatever, obviously I think our stances are pretty clear, but like regardless of individual politics, like bold move to just at one of the biggest concerts in the planet, just to start it out alienating a large percentage of, like, no matter whatever you did, it's going to alienate a huge group of the people in that crowd probably. But I think that crowd probably typically leans a certain way anyway. So
well, it's Southern California punks. Like, what do you think their thoughts are? And then me. But to move on from that, I'll just call out a couple of other really great sets. Missy Elliott was everything I needed her to be. T-Pain,
the misdemeanor herself.
Oh my, she was so good. T-Pain brought me back to high school. It was so much fun. He was wearing a top hat and moonwalking. Who else do I want to call out?
I love T-Pain.
he's amazing. And I'll say Kraftwerk was another huge highlight of the weekend. They played like a 2-hour set. It was for the nerds. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. Was that a big outdoor set? Like, I would feel like I'd want to see them in something a little more like enclosed.
So they were in like so Coachella has 2 massive outdoor stages, a fully indoor like punk stage for small bands, and then 2 like covered stages. It was in one of the covered stages. So it was like open air, but it had has a huge dome over it, so they were able to like utilize the lasers and the lights and everything. And it was it started at like 10 o'clock. So obviously the sun was down, and when that subby bassy synth comes in, everybody was just going nuts. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah. Going back on the Misfits one real quick, like I have such a like legacy acts like that, especially ones that haven't played together for a long time. Rarely do I really have any interest in seeing that. Like, I know it can work sometimes.
They sounded good. Like I got to hear like Attitude and stuff, which was really fun. And then we walked out, but it's weird. I said to Mary after, it was like, this is the first time and the last time I will get to see the Misfits. But it's weird.
I wonder. Yeah. Oh well. Okay, well, I don't know. You have any good food there in the desert? I know that's sometimes a part of it.
Yeah, I had this like Florentine style sandwich that was a little mortadella, some pistachio, some cheese on a fresh focaccia. Oh my goodness, Nathan, it was delicious.
Like just full, obviously not shelled, or in the shell, but like just full pistachio nuts, or were they like?
It was like crushed up pistachios in like a mayonnaise or something like that. Yeah, so good. It was like one of the best things I've eaten in a long time. It was just called like I think they were called like Florentine sandwiches or something like that. But man, it was delicious. Also, I had some fire coffee ice cream. But yeah, good food, expensive food, but it is what it is.
I like coffee ice cream. I often think that coffee ice cream smells better than it tastes, though, if that makes sense.
I disagree. I think it's all good. Give me that coffee ice cream.
Yeah. I like it too. Don't get me wrong. But like, it smells like exactly like what you want coffee to smell like, and then you taste it, you're like, it's not all. All right. Well, welcome back. So
Thank you.
Go straight from that into the fishing tournament. We already talked about that, so I guess let's talk about. I don't know. Do we want to just keep vamping and avoiding talking about the Cardinals?
Yeah, I could just complain about how I'm burning the candle at both ends for another hour or something like that. But no, we should talk about the Cardinals.
Everyone's gonna feel a lot of pity for you. I'm sure.
I'm sure. Very relatable. Very chill.
Yeah. All right. So the Cardinals are playing right now.
They're winning right now.
Started a game.
They're up.
I've not been following it.
1-0.
Talking to you. Okay. So the news of the week, though, of course, as they seek to potentially win the series against the Braves, but the weekend, a 4-game sweep against the New York Mets. Now, we've been talking already. The season is very young, but we've been talking about what does a 500 team look like, right? And what is this team actually going to look like? And unfortunately, this weekend, Well, I don't know. How are you? I know you weren't able to watch all of the
Yep.
games, but you're as obsessive as I am. You've gone back over a lot of it. How are you feeling about the team as we go into play here on Wednesday, the 23rd?
Yeah, I think it's the let's look at the run differential, and I think that's a great way to tell the story of this team. I think
Yeah.
that if you would have told us that the Cardinals had scored 114 runs through the first 24 games played, you might not have context for that, but you understand that's a lot of runs. The offense is clicking.
Hmm.
We're having a good time. We're getting performances out of the likes of Donnie, and Newbar seems to maybe be coming back out of his slump. I mean, the fact that Victor Scott is one of the best performers on the team, like you are just feeling great
Hmm.
about all of those things. But then when you see that the Cardinals have actually allowed, as of this recording, 119 runs, you're like, well, what's happened? I thought that this bullpen was going to be what it was last year, and I thought, while this rotation isn't fantastic, it's a grouping of twos and threes. It shouldn't be that bad. They should be, if the
Hmm.
offense is clicking, like I don't think we expected it to, and you have the pitching staff that you had last year, this should be a pretty good team. But they're getting shelled. They're getting shelled late in games. Um, I would still take this offense and losing late in games than not having this offense and scratching and
Sure.
clawing. But it's a painful way to lose, and it doesn't make for the most aesthetically pleasing baseball. And yeah, I think that there's probably a scenario where the Cardinals bullpen turns on a dime. Players like Ryan Fernandez either go down or figure it out very quickly because that's how bullpens can work, and you feel a lot better about this pitching staff. But yeah, this is, I think, kind of how you started this conversation. This is the 500 team. Their Pythagorean has
Yeah.
them at 12 and 12. They've gotten a little unlucky, um,
Hmm.
but it's they're 10 and 14. They can make that up in a week and be right at 500. This is kind of who they are, and I think that unless performances from certain people on the pitching staff change, this is probably what we're in for.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked about this with Daniel on Meet Me at Mutual on Friday night. Thanks again to C70 for having me on his show. It was a lot of fun. And we talked about, you and I have been pretty big fans of this style of bullpen building, collect as many darts as possible and start throwing them. But a potential side effect of that is that what happens if you miss with every dart in a week or two in a pretty short amount of time. Well, we just saw what happens is your pretty good offense doesn't really matter when you're going up against teams like the Mets, which are a really, really good team. And so your relief pitching can blow a game or four in a row. I don't know if I don't remember if they were directly responsible for all four, but like, the bullpen was the story of these losses. And it's sort of the part of the problem with doing it this way, but it is a potential outcome. So, you
Well,
could chalk it all up to played against a good team, bad small sample size. I don't know. What are
yeah, I
you gonna
mean,
say?
part of that I agree with, but the other, like Jojo Romero and Ryan Fernandez have been the biggest problems in the bullpen, and
Yeah,
those are, I guess, Ryan Fernandez I wouldn't consider like a made guy, but he had a great year last year, and based on the metrics, we were talking about this in the offseason, I expected him to take a leap forward this year, and Jojo
yeah,
Romero at times was the best pitcher in the bullpen outside of Ryan Helsley for chunks. So I
yeah.
think that's why I'm not like totally in the doom and gloom camp, because I think that those guys, like I said, I think that they could turn around. Although Jojo Romero's stuff has me worried right now because the stuff doesn't look like it's there and he's not striking anyone out. But you can always hold out hope for a reliever, either going deeper into the crevice or completely
Uh-huh.
pulling it out and turning their season around in a weekend. Things like that happen.
Yeah. That's the life of a reliever. And there's been some good stories on the bullpen side too. Kyle Leahy has been
Wow.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Maton has been great.
Yeah.
Helsley has been a little shaky, but we just haven't gotten a lot of Helsley. But I don't think anyone's really worried about him. So you can kind of say like, okay, well, there's three pieces that are pretty good. So you really Matt's long relief out of the bullpen. I know we're going to talk about him in a little bit. He's looked good.
Yeah.
So there are these pieces, and we've already seen Leahy has been moving up and up and up the leverage ladder. So in another couple weeks, maybe this is all fine, and we feel bad for Fernandez and Romero, but if they can't put it together, next man up. This is how the Cardinals have built a bullpen, and this is just going to happen sometimes, especially when you're doing it against, again, like a team like the Mets, who have like three of the best hitters in baseball right now on that team. Stupid, big, dumb, tough guy Alonso.
Yeah.
Like MVP season right now. And then Lindor and obviously Juan Soto, and Vientos is starting to heat up too. So It's just a really good team. So I'm trying not we say it over and over. We ride the wave on this show. A 4-game sweep from the Mets feels really bad, especially when a lot of them were late inning losses. But there's a chance that they can get out of this and we can still feel pretty good about this team because, like you said, the offense right now, 6th in the league in runs, 2nd overall in average, 6th in on base percentage, starting to slip on the home run rankings, now 18th in the league in home runs, which is something to keep an eye on. There's right now not feeling like a lot of power on this team, but they can win games in other ways. And the starting rotation has been fine, getting some giving up some runs, but a lot of the underlying metrics are looking pretty good. So why don't we talk about
that homer thing? I think it really comes down to I think the player that we should be talking about, but Nolan Gorman, I think, is going to be a huge part of that, and the Cardinals have obviously made a huge point of in the media and Oli Marmol specifically about him playing, him getting a real stretch run here. What that looks like, I guess we'll see. But he's playing today. He played last night. He had a nice couple of ABs last night. He's delivering.
It wasn't a dinger, but a game-winning, bases-clearing double down the line. I mean, it was a great at bat, great swing. He's been pretty good when he's had a chance to play this year. So
outside of him, Wilson, we keep saying it. I'm not worried about Wilson Contreras. The pop is going to come. He hits the ball too hard, too consistently for it not to. But yeah, it is looking a little underpowered right now.
Yeah. Let's go into some of the news from the week. Probably biggest and most important news story is Masyn Winn is back. Overall, I think the team weathered him being out. I mean, I know they lost a bunch of those games, but from doing what they can, what they needed with his position and his spot in the lineup, didn't really feel like they missed a beat. Obviously, defense is going to take a step down, but Donnie looked pretty good there. So JC looked okay. They were able to weather going into the season without a backup shortstop, and then your team immediately losing your young star shortstop. It's of course they're tested right out of the gates, and they did okay. Now, again, if Winn missed serious time, we might have to look at other options. But he's back and looking pretty good immediately. So I'm very excited to have Masyn Winn back.
Yeah, that's my shortstop, Nate. We need him up. Yeah, he was kind of showing signs of heating up before he went down, which is, I'm sure, why he was so frustrated about going down. But yeah, he's taking strong at bats, and yeah, it's the defense. It is. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody in the Cardinals system that can even really hold a candle to him. Maybe somebody young that I'm not thinking of right now. But yeah, it's a huge drop off, and yeah, I think Donnie did fine. He looks better at second, but yeah, he did a fine job for a week or so.
Yeah, and with the way he's hitting, and it gave Gorman opportunity to play, and Gorman's looking really good at second too. I don't know if it's just this small sample size or if he really worked on it on the off season. He was expecting to come in as a third baseman, so maybe he was just doing extra infielding drills. I don't know, but he's looked really good at second so far. So he's back, and kind of surprisingly, though I was pretty happy to see it. Daniel and I talked about it on Friday night about what are the Cardinals going to do? Who's going to go down when Winn comes back? And we got our answer.
Yeah.
Siani was sent down. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we were kind of calling for this, or at least I was kind of calling for this last week on the show. I think it makes sense. He's only had 17 plate appearances on the season, and obviously he's come in a lot as a pinch runner, a defensive replacement. But this team, I think, needs that extra infielder, that Thomas Saggese. Obviously, Victor Scott has center field locked down. He's been the first best player on the team. I guess probably put him just under Donnie in the first month or so. So you have to keep Victor Scott out there. And if Victor Scott is performing, it really makes Michael Siani kind of this extra piece. Couple that with the fact that Siani has looked just not ready for major league pitching right now. His at-bats have been rough. Makes a lot of sense. I think there's like the added complication of, okay, now you have Saggese, which some people view as a top prospect. Some people maybe just view as like a Daniel Descalso type. I guess it depends on what he's going to be and how do you find this 23-year-old player who could be really good, enough playing time for it to be good for his development and everything makes sense. But that's a good problem to have. I'd rather have that problem than the kind of, like I said, the extra part, the misfit toy that doesn't really have a lot of value. Like, even if it's, if you're down to your 26 man and you need a pinch hit, I'd much rather have Saggese at the bat than Siani. So for that, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I expect him to start getting some reps in the corner outfield positions at some point. Maybe it's late in games when they have a buffer. Maybe it's to start against a lefty to see if he can kind of hack it as a super utility type, because I think that would increase his value and make even more sense for the way that this team is organized with the lefties and righty matchups.
Yeah, I was really glad to see this move. We all like Siani, and we've said if you're going to carry a fourth outfielder, a defensive first fourth outfielder, then he's the guy to do that with. But you've been saying, this team doesn't need that. It doesn't make sense for this team. I really see at this point, like with Jordan Walker being pretty good in right
Jordan
field.
Walker's good. He's made so many highlight plays. It's crazy.
Yeah. He's got those long arms.
Long everything.
It helps. Yeah. Ayo. And they so you've got him in right. So it's not like a dire need to replace him defensively. And in a close game, I know he's still not crushing it at the plate, but you'd still like to see his plate approach. Even in a close game, you'd rather have him up there than Siani. And so Newt can play center if needed. So if something happens to Scott, you've got that backup. So we don't really need just like a defensive first outfielder. And worst comes to worst, Donnie plays a pretty good left, pretty good right. So what are we doing with Siani? And I think the Cardinals, this is a thing that I was glad to see, because I think the Cardinals of the past probably send down Saggese because he's the young guy, just got called up. He's got plenty of options. There's not a clear spot for him, and you just sort of play the reputation game. You say, well, Siani's our guy. He's been here, so he's staying. Saggese, you're the new guy. You're going down, even though he's absolutely crushing the ball right now. He's looking good at everything he's doing. I know it's hard to get him in the lineup, but he certainly seems like he belongs at the major league level, and he just is something more useful than Siani. There may be a time where it makes more sense to have Siani on this team, but it's not right now. And I was glad to see them make this decision.
Yeah, I think, the same way that you're kind of exposed not having a Saggese on the roster with at shortstop, you are similarly exposed with Victor Scott. But assuming he plays almost every day, you slide Nootbaar over there every once in a while. Yeah, I think you're in a good spot, and this makes the most sense. And I think it should also be respected how well Victor Scott is playing outfield, is playing center field. I'm sure if you deep dive into the metrics and everything like that, it's probably a step back from Siani because of how good he is. But he's looked awesome. He's made every play. I love it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Masyn Winn, and why you're kind of okay with them not carrying a backup shortstop.
He's
where
going
you're
to
like,
play
well, we got this.
155 games.
Yeah, if not more. They're young enough. Like I know those are intensive positions, and it's very reasonable to give them days off. But those are the types of guys that you think that if like they could play 162.
Yeah.
I know when last year started to wear down, and they were losing, so they're giving him more time off at short. But now he's in another full year. Like these are your franchise guys at this point.
Yep.
It's probably a little early to call that on Scott, but yeah, if they're playing 155 plus, you don't really need that, and there's just more use elsewhere on the roster.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I was glad to see him make that decision. But the lineup, here we are, Ben. You want to have another roster crunch conversation? How do you build the lineup right now? Who's going where? What is your ideal? If you're in a win now game, what is your ideal lineup looking like?
Yeah, I think the only change I would make to so let's say that the lineup right now is probably pretty locked in at Nootbaar, Contreras, Donovan, Arenado, Burleson, Walker, Pages, Victor Scott, Masyn Winn, right? That's probably the lineup that he is running out, that Marmol is running out most days. I think the only change that I would make to that, if I want to win the game today, is swapping out Burley for Gorman and probably leaving everything else the same. You could argue for Gorman playing second base over Donovan and Donovan going to DH. I don't think that I think Donovan is a better second baseman. So I think that is probably the most optimal lineup right now. And then you swap in a Sajacy or Lucan Baker for, pick your least favorite lefty-lefty matchup for those guys. But yeah, I think that's what it is. Like you said, I'm a little worried about Walker just because that WRC plus and those numbers have been dipping. But this is what we're here for. We're here to develop Jordan Walker against Major League pitching. I do not love. So that I said that's probably the optimal lineup. The thing I don't like about that is that Baker really hasn't been getting a ton of at bats recently, which I think is too bad. But kind of the nature of the beast. And then it is hard to find time for Sajacy. But, those are good problems to have, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the leash, I guess, is the word people use on someone like Burleson. We've seen him maybe improve a little bit recently, but I still sort of struggle to see the long-term fit for him on this team. But in a win now thing, him against righties, I get it. He's usually going to give you a pretty good at bat, but unless something, I don't think he has a barrel yet. He doesn't have a home run yet. Like, I don't know how much longer you can keep running that out there.
What it comes down to, Nate, is that Nolan Gorman can play second base and Burleson can't.
Right.
So the long-term value of what we're trying to do here just makes less sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I like Burleson as much as the next guy. I wonder how long they keep prioritizing him over other people.
I'm looking at Burleson's StatCast numbers right now. You are correct. He doesn't have a barrel on the year yet. He has a decent exit velocity. He's hitting the ball fairly hard, which is always good. But his expected stats are looking really bad. He has an expected batting average of 191, an expected slugging of 257. And those are disappointing numbers. Now, he could turn it around. He's done it. Right. He did it for almost 6 months last year. I don't think he's a bad hitter. But when he's not hitting and he doesn't have any defensive future, it is head scratching a little. Like, how long is the leash? How long are we going to go through this?
Yeah, like the Cardinals, like most teams in major leagues, don't like to have just a DH only. You really reserve that for your elite guys who are just DH only. And he's not that. So I'd much rather use the DH as a rotating day off sort of thing than locking in a Burleson.
Yeah.
And I suspect that he had a good year for the Cardinals last year and he deserves time to figure it out. But I imagine with guys like Sajacy crushing it, Gorman seemingly playing very well, at some point in the near future, if Burleson doesn't turn it around, we're going to start to see him lose at bats in favor of a whole host of other guys.
Yeah.
Especially as they fall further and further into the division, possibly.
Fourth place,
then we're
baby.
gonna see. Yeah. Yeah. It's a long season, though.
It is.
Long season.
It is. Yeah,
It's
we
very
barely
long
even
season.
played the Central so far. It's
It's coming up.
It
yeah,
is.
we're like 13% into the season or something
Right,
like
yeah.
that. So much can change. Yeah. What else do you want to? Donnie, did you hear the story of this? He went to bed with he was feeling soreness in his ribs, and then they figured he had a subluxated rib, which is basically a dislocated rib.
Ooh.
And they were talking about it on the broadcast. I think it was Brant Brown, but it might have been someone else. Basically gave him a bear hug to get his rib back into place.
Oh.
And he sat out that game
Yeah.
and is still out because he's sore, but they fixed it with a bear hug.
Yeah.
The whole thing, I hated.
Yeah, I'm too soft for that. I would knock me out, and take me to the hospital. That sounds horrible.
Just the whole thing. I
Yeah.
definitely just I hate it. It feels bad, but I guess that's good. They could solve it in that way, and
Sure.
and he's just. I don't know. The whole thing just feels weird to me. Like your ribs dislocated. How does that happen? And just hugging it back into place. But you know what, Ben? If only more of our problems could be solved by hugs.
Wow.
I think actually a lot of our problems could be solved with hugs.
Yeah. That's what they should be doing across the world, Nathan.
That's what you know what I'm saying?
Why don't they wouldn't it be chill if everybody just got along?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What if sorry, there's a tariff on hugs, so that's gonna cost you.
Stupid.
I'm still doing tariff jokes.
Hey, they're good. They're still happening.
They're
Yeah,
good.
We're in the middle of it.
So he seems okay. And weird story, but he seems okay, so we'll be fine. And I know you put it in the outline. I want to talk about it too. JJ Wetherholt is crushing it in the minors. I think there are some teams where he would be on the list of like on the short list of call ups. Like we're seeing some other guys from his draft class starting to get called up. Nick Kurtz from the Athletics is getting called up. There will be a number of these guys.
People are talking about Jack Caglione getting called up here soon.
Yeah. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility for someone who's drafted last year to come up early in the following year. The Cardinals are in a situation where they don't need to, mostly because he's of the position he plays and all that. There's already a logjam there. But this is great. Like he's doing everything you want to see and cementing his future as like he's going to force his hand at the major league level sometime, maybe this year.
Yeah.
Depending on how things shake out. But you got the roster will figure itself out over time, probably. Although we've been saying that for years. But what you want to see is exactly what he's doing with a 167 WRC plus at AA.
Yeah. 2 weeks in, obviously it's still very, very early. He's got a stolen base. He's walking. He's not striking out a ton. I mean, striking out just over 11% of the time in your first time in AA is a very exciting sign. Obviously we saw his strikeouts in spring training were a little high, but I'm not, going to worry about that too much. But seeing that strikeout rates in there and facing tougher and tougher pitching, he's only 22 years old, is very exciting. I don't know. We'll see, how quick they are with the promotion to AAA or if they keep him at AA. Some people think that the pitching at AA is, fine enough for this kind of maturation, but very exciting. Chase Davis also having a really nice start to the season.
He is. I was going to talk about that last week, but we kind of ran out of time. Yeah. He's rebounding.
Yeah.
He had a pretty horrible start to his professional career. But the talent's starting to break through. So, pretty excited about him.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. Or obviously the pitching is really what we need, but it is fun to see these position players kind of pop out of the gates early.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the pitching. So I want to start with a positive one. Liberatore
Oh, baby.
is really starting. Like, to me, this Mets start was really a test, right? We've seen him; he's looked pretty good to start the season, but this is the best lineup he's pitched against, and I don't think you can be anything other than happy with how that turned out. So he's looking like the best pitcher on the team right now. The results would say that he is.
Yep.
I wouldn't necessarily pick him over Sonny Gray right now, but from a pure output standpoint, you would take Liberatore. It's been pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking at the F4 leaderboard right now for all MLB starting pitchers. He is number 13 on the list. He is ahead of Logan Gilbert and right next to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Like, who had that on their prediction game? I mean, obviously
Yeah.
we've gassed the guy up and we've talked about his potential and a lot of reasons why this could happen. And, we'll put a little water on the fire. It's only 4 starts in, but he's
Mhm.
looking good. He is not walking people at all. The breaking stuff is looking real. I'm on the hype train, man. He's doing everything you want him to do. And like we talked about it last week, it's the frame, the pedigree, the pitch mix, the beard. He looks like the major league pitcher. And he's limiting walks. He's not giving up home runs. He's doing all the little things that you should be really excited about. And he's still 25 years old. Like, this is exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, the walk rate is particularly incredible. A 2% walk rate, which coincidentally puts him in the top 2% of baseball.
And he's only
And
given up 2 walks.
yeah, yeah. So I just twos are wild. He's having a great start. I mean, that right there, that walk rate matters, obviously, but it's particularly impressive when you're talking about a guy who is all about spin and stuff and tricking hitters and things like that. So you would expect a guy like that, especially this early in his career as a starter, to have a higher walk rate as he's figuring it out, trying to get guys out of the zone and things like that. And I'm sure there'll be some regression at some point, but this combination of stuff and low walk rate is an incredible recipe for success.
Yeah, he's only given up 4 barrels so far, which puts him in elite company. There's a lot of ties, but he's in 3rd place in MLB on that. I mean, the fact that he's doing that, not giving up a ton of hard contact, it's hard to not be just super. He's doing everything you want a pitcher to do through 4 starts, and I think he's looked better and better and better after each start. So yeah, I'm hype train. All that stuff. Let's go buy stock, pick them up on your fantasy team. Everything is looking great.
Yeah, we this is exactly what we need to see to be hyped. I'm still going to say for 2026, which has been the year that we've been really targeting as a potential competitive year. We need a couple of these this year to really understand what the rotation is going to look like next year.
You talk about, like, we'll get really rosy on this right now. You talk about a rotation going into 2026 with Sonny Gray at the top, Matthew Liberatore and Quinn Matthews, the 2 lefties starting, at year 2 and 3, and then whoever else kind of fills in the back. You can start to feel really, really pumped about what that could be.
Could be fun. If this offense even just stays at what it is, all these guys are here next year. The entire offense is here next year.
Most of them were drafted in 2020.
Is here. Yeah. So like you can see where, like, I'm still for 2025. I it's fun to hope, it's fun to dream. There's still a potential for this to come together and they compete in this year, but that's never been my expectation.
Right.
But 2026, like, you're starting to see maybe the shape of what this team could look like for a competitive 2026.
Yeah.
So yeah, reasons to hype there. One guy who will not be here next year, but has had some interesting results is pitching right now, is Mikolas. He had an interesting quote. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, this was after Miles was pulled after only 70 pitches in his start against the Mets this weekend. He said that if there's a diminished sense of trust in some of my abilities, I understand that. Mikolas went on to say, getting better with some of my sequencing and being able to go after strikeouts is something that's going to help me earn that trust back. That's a benefit of going outside the zone. Not just the swing and miss, but quality of contact is much softer, right? It's not your 100-mile-per-hour ground ball to the shortstop. A lot more good things can happen when you're out of the zone at the right time, and the quality of contact is a lot less. He went on to say a few other things. That there was a great article by Katie Wu in The Athletic. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I highly recommend it. But kind of talking about his working with the pitching coaches, with the staff on changing his game. And I would say, this is one of those things where I'm happy that it's being talked about. I'm a little frustrated that this is what it's taking to, rocking a 7.5 ERA in the big leagues to get you to think about making adjustments and thinking about pitching a little differently. And I think what's really interesting at the core of this is that it seems like the language that Miles and Marmol have been using around his performance are starting to shift. And by that, I mean of how long are we going to do this? How long does it make sense? With what Steven Matz is doing in the bullpen and in his start, is that pushing Miles out of the bullpen? And it seems like the way that the conversation is being framed has taken a different tone over the last, 2 weeks or so.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly seems that way, and it makes sense for it to be that way. I mean, Matt's included in this, but he's pitching pretty well. We're not going to have him next year.
Yeah.
And so what are we really benefiting from? Now, I know Mikolas also just goes out there and throws every other game, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, and you say, all right, thanks for giving us a chance to win. But again, what are we accomplishing with that? When every other game, it's also you're giving up 7 and you just have no shot and you're taxing the bullpen you with a player of this history with the team, whether we like it or not, you do it. There's almost the team. You'll often see a team start to do almost like a propaganda campaign where they start dropping little hints that there might be a change, as if a ton of us would be very, very upset if they were to cut Miles Mikolas or something like that.
Right.
And I think you're right. Like, you're starting to see that a little bit from the Cardinals of like, maybe it's
is that,
think.
Is that for us, or is that for the other players in the clubhouse? Is that for people? Like, I assume people like and respect Miles Mikolas in that clubhouse,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, I imagine it's a little bit of both, right? Like, he's been like, we've had such a, I think it was going into last year, we were talking about from 2019 to 2022 or something like that. He was the 19th best pitcher in baseball from a WAR perspective. He's been a major part of this team,
absolutely
a good part of this team for so long. And he's being paid a lot of money right now. So like, you can understand why the team is taking a very cautious and respectful approach in that regard. I that's where I always get torn on it, is the cold, mechanical, best data decision versus the like human, like, track record sort of thing. I'm like, well, maybe he'll bring it back, right? Like, that's what they're doing with this. Like, let's mess with this pitch mix. Let's try different things. Like, he's been a successful starter before. Maybe, but I just keep going back to, okay, what is it for, and what are we getting out of him versus Michael McGreevy?
Yeah. And I think that, this goes back to, I think we read this Ollie Marmol quote a week or two ago about the idea of, he's not making those types of personnel decisions. It's just him and his staff's job to make the players they have as good as possible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, when you're talking about 30,000-foot view, maybe Miles can turn it around and maybe he looks attractive to a team at the trading deadline all of a sudden, or maybe he finds he does well enough to become an Orioles pitcher next year, because that's the kind of person they would go after. Poor Charlie Morton. Have you seen what's happening to Charlie Morton out there?
Well, I was thinking, Miles, what the Cardinals are, I think, hoping to do with Miles Mikolas, if what you're saying is true, is basically turn him into exactly what the Cardinals would trade for at the trade deadline.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe he'll be an Oriole this year, rather than next year. But yeah.
Ah, man, that'd be pretty terrifying for him over in the new Camden Yards.
Yeah, he needs that wall.
Yeah.
Baltimore, that's good, right?
Hey, all right. I feel like we need to take a little pause on just talking about Mikolas for a little bit too, because I feel like we just kind of talk about why he doesn't make sense on this team.
I'm just reporting the news over here, Nate. I'm not putting any personal anything on it. This is just me reporting the weather.
Wow. Well, let's talk about Pallante and his weather.
Okay.
How you feeling about Pallante?
Not tremendous. Yeah. There's a trend that seems to be happening. Obviously, his overall numbers on the year are not terrible, but the start against Atlanta was not fantastic. The start against the Mets was also not fantastic. And the trend that I'm seeing that is really worrying me is that over his last 3 starts, he's thrown 17 and a third innings, and he only has 7 strikeouts. They are seemingly evaporating away, disappearing, and as that's been happening, his results have been worse and worse. The fastball velocity hasn't been where it normally is. It seems a tick or two down. I'm just starting to get a little worried about our guy here. I don't know. I don't know what else
basically
to say.
everything bad is up and everything good is down right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you pull up his StatCast, it is pretty much exclusively ice cold blue, except for one thing which we'll talk about in a second. But he's even been getting kind of lucky in his results. Right now, his ERA is a 4.05, which is reasonable. His expected ERA is a 4.75, which once you start getting around that 5, you start not really being a particularly valuable starting pitcher.
Yeah.
An interesting thing from his results, though, is that he is in the 97th percentile for ground ball rate.
Yeah.
So that is good.
It's out of major league starters. I believe he is in first place. I was looking at this earlier. Now, there's some relievers that best him, but out of starters, he is the guy.
Yeah. And which has always been a part of his game, right? He kind of takes that, like, I'd say Waino sort of approach where you're really pitching for ground balls, but you're hoping, his ideal is a Waino approach where you're pitching for ground balls, but your stuff is so good, you're also getting strikeouts.
Right.
So you want to see a high ground ball rate from him. But it's not resulting in strikeouts, which is the problem. We're still early in the season. We're talking 26 innings. Can still turn it around, but trending in a wrong direction, which is not great for a guy that, until you and I talked to Nick from Pitchers List, we were very excited about going into this year. And maybe Nick knows what he's talking about.
And I'm not trying to cherry pick stats here. Like, I'm looking at his Stuff Plus. I'm looking at StatCast. I'm looking at, the only thing that's really trending in the right direction for him is the slider. Might be all right, but his sinker is taking a dive the last 3 starts. His fastball is just not been good. It's the stuff is just down, and good thing he gets a lot of ground balls.
Yeah. So keep an eye on that. We're really hoping to see it's not sustainable. This ground ball rate won't be sustainable, and we got to see more strikeouts from him for it to keep working.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right. What else do you want to talk about? Cardinal related.
Yeah, I think we already shouted out Victor Scott. That's on the outline. We don't need to talk about that. We already talked about our worries over the bullpen. We don't need to talk about that. I think we can keep going.
All right. So the Cardinals are finally going to see some division play here. I do think important to recognize that they've had a bit of a murderer's row of teams, at least the NL East. We still haven't seen like the Padres and Dodgers and things like that, but they've been playing very good teams over the last couple of weeks. And now we will get a chance to see some teams in the Central. And we're going to talk about that as well as some other news and notes from around the league. But before we do, we want to remind everyone that this show is listener supported on Patreon. Patreon.com/talking about birds. If you enjoy the show and want to support us directly, the time and effort it takes us to bring you this show every single week. In between, been camping and fishing and all that, he's got a lot going on, you know what I mean? And so if you want to, the fact that we're able to bring this to you every single
Shut
week.
up.
There's a lot of good stuff that you can check out on patreon.com/talking about birds. Patrons of every level get access to the Birds Gourd. It's a private chat server on Discord where we are following the game, posting lineups, talking about it, sort of essentially replacing what a lot of us used to do on like Twitter and things like that, where you're just sort of like live tweeting the game, but it's actually in a closed space with other fans, other listeners, and you can actually talk to other people as the game is going on. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It is completely replaced, even where we're at, like Blue Sky and whatnot. I'm basically just in the Bird Score during games now, and it's a lot of fun. So you get access to that, and there's some other things on there too if you're interested. So check that out, patreon.com/talking about birds. Otherwise, consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It is very, very helpful for us. And of course, tell your friends, tell your family. We really appreciate it every time you do. Hambone, where else can people find us online?
Yeah, we're on all the socials at Talking About Birds. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram. We got the TikTok. Come and click on our faces over there. If you prefer to listen to this show on Spotify, you can do that. Rate us and star us and all that shit over there. You can listen on YouTube, and we also do full videos. You can watch this podcast on YouTube if you want to do that. For whatever reason you might want to. You can get all of the podcast information, YouTube. We have t-shirts available, everything like that at talkingaboutbirds.com. You can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
Yeah, Hambone and I do a lot of physical comedy on this show. Lots of physical bits and goofs and pratfalls and things like that. So you really want to check it out on YouTube. It's a great way to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
You
can judge what we look like, judge our rooms, judge our art. I'm wearing a purple shirt right now. You can tell me I look fat and purple. Go for it. Rip it up.
They're like, is that Ben or is that Grimace? Is Nate's co-host one of Ronald McDonald's friends?
Wow.
What is that? What is that? Is there a name for the crew?
I don't know. The McDonald's gang?
There's a Ronald McDonald house by my house now. I'm always keeping
that is confusing.
Keeping my hamburgers close. You know what I mean?
For the Hamburglar?
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume he's there.
Okay. Yeah. I figured he was
Isn't
in jail.
That what
I actually think you're underthinking this one.
Isn't that what the Ronald McDonald house is?
I don't know, man. I can't answer this for you, Nate.
All right, it's a good bit. Moving on. All right. We'll finally see the Brewers.
Yep.
They're coming to St. Louis for 3 games. So the Brewers find themselves what are they? Are they in second place right now? Yes, they are 13-11. They have a plus 16 run differential though.
Yeah.
We've talked about them a lot over the offseason, even into this season. The big question for them is their starting pitching going to work? In many ways, it has not, although Freddie Peralta has been fantastic to start the year, which has really helped them out. Their offense is good. Their bullpen is pretty good. They're in second place in the division, and they come to St. Louis. How you feeling about this series?
Yeah, I would be feeling a lot better if Christian Yelich didn't start recently destroying baseballs. He's been one of the
Mhm.
better players over the last week. And anytime Yelich is good, I just worry that he's going to come to St. Louis and spank us. So I think that that's highly likely. Obviously, you have Churio and Contreras on either side of him. They are scary bats and players in general. And Terang is really putting together a nice year early. Even Sal Frelick is crushing righties,
Mhm.
and he looks like he's taken a step forward offensively. Yeah, good little offense, like you said. I think the good news is that the Cardinals are not going to be drawing Freddie Peralta this week, so that makes life a little bit easier. It looks like the Cardinals will get Chad Patrick, who is somebody who I've never heard of.
Sounds like a fake name.
It does.
Chad Patrick.
Chad Patrick. Looks like he's performed pretty well early on in the year. The Cardinals get him on Friday. Then former top Pirates prospect Quinn Priester is going to be starting game 2. He's had an okay start to the year. And then old Cardinal legend Jose Quintana will be game 3. So, yeah, that doesn't really strike a lot of fear. Their closer hasn't been great. Their bullpen hasn't been great. Their pitching overall hasn't been great. So there are ways you can beat this team. But I think it's really going to be about making sure that Churio and Yelich and Contreras really don't pound you all weekend. So
Yeah.
stay away from those guys, and we should have a nice little series.
Yeah, it's two teams with pretty good offenses and pretty mediocre pitching
Yep.
or bad pitching going against each other. So you would suspect these could be some high scoring games. However, this is at Busch Stadium, and fortunately for the Cardinals, we have Sonny Gray, Liberatore, and Matz going, who are maybe the 3 best starters on the team right now.
Yep.
Fetty's been doing well as well, so I don't want to discount him, but like that's pretty good for the Cardinals. So and Cardinals have been beating some good teams. Like you could see them doing well at home against the Brewers. Hopefully, we get that season series kicked off, in a good way.
Yeah.
Because after that, the Cardinals are going to Cincinnati for 4 games against the Reds.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel about Great American Ballpark in the same way that I do about Wrigley, where it's like it almost doesn't really matter the current team, which one is good, which one is bad. These games are going like 4 games there. It's going to be chaos at some point. And so the Reds are just above the Cardinals in the standings, but they have a plus 28 run differential because their offense is really good, and they have a few standout pitchers, though they're in 3rd place for a reason as well. They have their bullpen is pretty rough. They have some inconsistencies, but I expect this series to hopefully be a lot of fun. You always like these games that, in Cincinnati, but this might be tough. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, any team with Ellie De La Cruz on it scares me. He's been awesome to start the year.
Yeah.
What should really scare Cardinals fans is that Gavin Lux and Noelvi Marte have been banging recently. Noelvi Marte, I think he was a huge question mark coming into 2025. He hit I think it was 116 mile per hour home run last night. That was the last baseball highlight I watched before I went to bed and struck fear into me. And Gavin Lux, who I think we said like this is probably going to be a pretty good pickup for the Reds. He's starting to hit, and that's just not great if you're a Cardinals fan. It looks like the Cardinals are going to get Nick Martinez for game 1. They're going to get Brady Singer, who I know you hate, for game 2, and then very likely Andrew Abbott for game 3. So the good thing is, I guess it's a 4-game series. Hunter Green. I was going to say we get to avoid Hunter Green, but we'll get him in the final game. And Hunter Green, I mean, we've been talking about this for years. He is that dude, right? He is just awesome, and he looks really good this year.
Having a great start.
Yeah. So, you know what I'll say? Something to be optimistic about, Nate, is that they have a 3-game series at Coors Field before they start the Cardinal series. So maybe their pitching staff will be a little ravaged. Maybe they'll be spent and tired for giving up all these home runs to a very bad offense out here in the mountains. But that's a little.
And we all know
thinking.
how this works. Maybe their offense will use up all their home runs for that week. In Coors.
That would be tremendous.
That's how that works, right?
The offense is scary. I mean, Jake Fraley is hitting well right now. TJ Friedl is hitting well right now. Matt McClain is healthy. The Cardinals haven't seen him in a long time. Austin Hayes, their offseason signing, has been hitting the ball well. Their offense is kind of scary.
Yeah, which has been like their team has been, we've talked about it for years now. It's this sort of high risk, high reward. When it clicks, it's going to be very good, especially from an offensive standpoint. And right now it's looking pretty good. So maybe the Cardinals can go in and stymie it, but this is another one where I'm expecting a pretty high scoring series.
Yeah. Yeah, their bullpen is bad. Our bullpen is bad. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, they've Emilio Pagan is now their closer. Alexis Diaz just came off the IL, but he's really struggled, and they're sort of easing him back in. But not a lot to really be afraid of there. So
no.
Yeah, I expect no lead will be safe on either side until the game is over.
Yeah.
All right. A little bit of league news. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, not too much. Really just a lot of baseball going on. But the Braves superstar Spencer Strider plays back on the IL after injuring his hamstring while playing catch. I can't believe those hammies can become injured.
I know. You feel like they must be like 6 inches circumference. You know what I mean? Like he's the thigh master. How can this guy keep hurting his thighs? Maybe
6 inches is small.
12 inches? I don't know. Big?
No, those are
how big is a hamstring normally?
I'm guessing those hamstrings are like 30 inches around. Have you seen him?
Yeah, but 30 inch around.
You're a string being, Nate. Okay, you don't understand it. I'm a thigh guy over here. These things are huge, and I'm sure Spencer Strider's are even bigger. So 6 inches is laughable. That's like my forearm. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I guess I don't really know how big a hamstring is.
Okay.
They're normally like pencil, sized, and
yeah, sure, man.
famous. My hamstrings are too short and are just bad in general.
Yeah,
so I don't know what I'm talking about.
We got a couple of big prospect call-ups that I'm excited about as well. I think we already talked about Nick Kurtz, but this guy was, 4th overall pick for the A's last year. All he has done is been a masher. I think this kid is going to translate to the big leagues immediately and be a really fun player to watch, but kind of cool to see this kid and the A's doing competitive baseball-y things in their weird ballpark. I watched some of the A's game last night, and balls just sail over the wall. It is the most ridiculous home runs I've ever seen in this ballpark to start the year.
Yeah, they went from one of the worst offensive environments in baseball to a minor league stadium. So it's pretty incredible. I mean, we're seeing that team is in the top 5, I think, in home runs just in general. Tyler Soderstrom has 9 already. We were saying a lot this offseason. We're expecting that team to hit a lot of home runs. And if Nick Kurtz comes up and is anything at all what he looks like he might be, this team's going to be really, really powerful, at least. Like they're moving Rooker and or Soderstrom to left field just to get Kurtz in this lineup. And it's going to be a pretty terrifying lineup. Lawrence Butler is heating up as well.
I cannot remember where I read this article, so I apologize for not giving somebody credit for it. But I was reading that ballpark, so it is the like from home plate to the outfield is that you're going west, right? And then it's near the ocean, so there's a breeze coming from the ocean inland. And because the ballpark is a minor league ballpark and it's only got the one deck, it doesn't have the high walls. That jet stream or that wind is coming over the top of the ballpark. So basically, every night, if you hit a ball higher than the roof of the stadium or higher than the seats in the stadium, it's just getting sucked out. So I think we're about to see something really weird over these next 3 years, and I guess get the ball in the air.
Yeah, it's gonna make I guess it's kind of like Coors, right? Where you're just it completely breaks projections for players.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is already a power hitting team. Like I think Soderstrom and Butler and Rooker, they're going to hit home runs anywhere. Yeah. But when you've got this also, we might see some silly power numbers from this team.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. Maybe the exact opposite player in baseball from Nick Kurtz is Chandler Simpson, who is another player
Yeah.
who I am very, very excited to see how he translates to the big leagues. This is well, you're a prospect guy. This is a top prospect for the Rays. How do you think Chandler Simpson's game is going to translate in MLB?
He's got a really fun stat line from last year. I might not be exactly right on these numbers, but I'm pretty sure I'm very, very close. So last year he hit like a 364 batting average with 104 stolen bases.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
he had 104
one
stolen
home
bases
run
in 110 games.
in 110 games and one home run.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've seen the dream of these guys several times now, right? Most recently, Estieri Ruiz,
Yeah.
and
Think back to
Cardinal
Billy
fans will,
Hamilton.
of course, exactly, Billy Hamilton. He's probably closer to a Billy Hamilton than a Ruiz. Ruiz in the minors actually did hit for some power, so some people thought he might be able to be a relatively complete hitter, but that did not shake out.
Right.
But these high average, insane speed, good defensive guys, you see why teams dream on them. I mean, how fun would it be? I think we're all rooting for 100 steal season in Major League Baseball again.
Well, I mean, if he did that in 110 games with the rules and everything now, maybe he can do 140 stolen bases in the big leagues.
But again, everyone wants that, right? Like, I don't care, even if it's on a team that we despise. Like, I want to see someone have an insane Ricky Henderson level season of stolen bases again. Yeah. It seems impossible for someone to steal over 100 bases in a season at the major league level. But if there's ever a guy who could do it, it's Chandler Simpson. And he's a pretty good center fielder as well. Yeah. So I get it. The thing is, it's just it so rarely works. Having almost no power, it's really hard to be successful at the major league. You basically have to be able to do everything else at a above to far above average level to still be valuable at the major league level. And we see it very rarely, like a Luis Ariz, maybe a Stephen Kwan, some of these guys who carry the 350-ish batting average at the major league level. People, you can stomach rostering them. So he doesn't just need to hit; he needs to hit well and get on base well in order for that speed to work. So I'm rooting for him. That is a fun prospect, but I kind of believe it when I see it, sort of thing, because it so rarely works.
I'll note that not only did he have one home run last year, that is the only home run he's had since being drafted. He's been in professional baseball since 2022. But yeah, we'll see. I'm very excited. I hope he hits the ground running. Did you like that? All right, that's all the league news I got this week.
All right, Hambone, it's time for another segment. So, I was thinking, you like hot dogs. I like hot dogs.
Sure.
We all love hot dogs.
Okay.
What if for this segment, we just took out our phones and we just started Googling pictures of hot dogs to share with our friends? Uh-oh. Do you hear that?
I hate you.
Oh, no. Hambone. It's been so long, I thought we'd gotten rid of him.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, he's trying to play a song. I can't hear anything, but you're trying to play a song from your phone. This is high production quality right here.
It's the Card Shark, Vin. It's back.
Yeah. Did you pause the phone? I can't hear anything. I heard the first, but yeah. God, you suck.
Well, let me look around here. Okay, I found something here. Okay, we've got to deal with this Card Shark.
Yeah, we must.
Fortunately, I've got a set of cards here from the Topps 2025 Series 1
collection.
All right.
Okay.
And in order to satiate the card shark, you're gonna have to guess. I'm gonna read the player's name, and you
Okay.
tell me their position and what team they are on.
All right.
Okay. All right. We'll see. What do we got here? All right. Teoscar Hernandez.
Outfielder for your LA Dodgers.
Easy one. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, he's
What
dancing.
a good pickup by the Dodgers.
Yeah, that worked out for them, annoyingly.
Well, I think there's going to just be an increasingly popular market of taking good hitting Mariners out of the Mariners ballpark and and pretty much put them
And good things
anywhere
happen.
other than put them anywhere other than Seattle. All right. Jung-Hoo Lee.
Jung-Hoo Lee is the center fielder for the Giants and having an awesome start to the year.
Dude, real breakout. I think it might be real too.
I think so. I love everything about his game. I love the way he hits home runs. He's a great outfielder. He's awesome.
I was looking at his StatCast the other day because he's really, really having an incredible start, and everything is backing it up.
Yeah.
So the Giants are good.
Giants are good. That NL West is good and scary.
Yeah. Casey Mize.
Casey Mize, starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. He's having a nice start too.
He is former top prospect.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty good start to the season.
They're easy so far.
Raphael. They are easy so far. Let's see what we get. Raphael Devers. That's another easy one.
DH for the Boston Red Sox.
Look at that. That's a shiny card. Ooh, here's a real shiny one. This one might be a little harder.
Okay.
Ryan Bliss.
Ryan Bliss actually just went down for most of the rest of the season. Second baseman for the Seattle Mariners.
Look at this. Look at that.
That's
card.
fun. Yeah.
That's
Hold
a
on
real
to that
shiny
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
It's
so
like a
tiny.
prismatic.
Kind of a fun story.
Yeah, I was really into him. It was a bummer to see they just moved him to the IL. But this is a rookie card, so
Yeah. Hold on to that.
RC there in the corner. Yeah.
Oh.
Seth Brown.
Seth Brown is a first base DH for the Athletics, right?
This has him listed as an outfielder, but I think you're right. I think he plays. Maybe I got it upside down. Maybe he plays everything.
I'm Googling him right now. First base, outfield. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I count that for me.
Well, we'll see what the card shark says. But kind of just like emblematic of what the Athletics have been for the last few years before some of these more recent call-ups. Just sort of a guy. He's fine, but not really going to move the needle. Zach DeZenzo.
Zach DeZenzo. Such a good name. I feel like I should know that. But I do not. I'm going to say that he is a relief pitcher for the Guardians.
No, he is a first baseman for the Houston Astros.
Oh.
Some people have some hype for him.
Okay.
I think he's having an okay start to the season.
Dang. Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss. Card shark just bit your leg.
Ooh.
You just said good name. How about S tier name? Nathan Eovaldi.
Nathan Eovaldi. That's a fine name. Eovaldi's pretty good. Starting pitcher Rangers, my friend. My other Nathan.
This pack has been
a lot of stars.
Easy. Yeah. Here we go. Pedro Paez.
Really? That's great.
Yeah.
Starting catcher, St. Louis Cardinals.
Look at that. Look at that swing.
Hold on to that.
Look at those thighs.
I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but his bat has looked a lot worse recently.
We're just doing fun stuff right now. Look at Pedro Paez. Look at those Pedro Pa legs.
Yeah, how wide do you think those legs are? 7, 8 inches.
I said the hamstring, not the leg. I know a leg is gonna be more than 6 inches. Is that what you thought I said?
So
that
you're
is
just talking like just the back part of the hamstring. Okay.
The actual tendon.
Okay. I mean, it's a muscle.
That's what I was.
It's not a tendon.
Whatever. It's all the same.
I mean, kind of.
That's what I meant. Not your. I know someone's leg is thicker than 6 inches. Okay. All right. Now I see. We had a fundamentally different understanding of what
You're
we
a
were
bad
talking
communicator and you don't know what legs are.
No.
That's what I've
Do you
learned
call people's legs their hamstrings? Or you
I-
see someone walking around and you say, look at the look,
Yeah,
look at
check
their
out those
hamstrings.
hammies. Absolutely.
And you're referring to their entire leg.
You could be from the back.
I call those their getaway sticks.
That's also good. We're not going to argue about that.
One last one for you, Hambo, and you've been sailing here. Drew Romo.
Wow. Rip. Oh wait. I was thinking of Rom. Drew Romo is he even in the bigs right now? Catcher for my Colorado Rockies.
You got it. Is he
I
still?
mean,
Yeah. Is he?
He's around. I think he's in the minors though. I don't think he's in. He's definitely not in big leagues right now.
Okay. Well, Hambo, I'm pretty good. Other than Zach DeZenzo, you kind of nailed all of them. So,
Yeah.
My perfect segment, my baby boy, my card shark.
And again, the setup was we're gonna Google photos of hot dogs to send to our friends. That was the setup.
That's what it was gonna be. And
Did
then,
you write that? Did you write that?
Doesn't matter. You don't need to know how I prep these things.
Okay.
I had the whole thing, and then the card shark showed up.
Oh, okay. Next week.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll Google pictures of hot dogs to send to our friends.
Okay. Idiot.
It's a good segment. This
All
is
right.
good. Remember, the show is good now.
The
No matter
show is
what we
good
do,
now.
the show
Thank
is
you.
good now. And that's going to be it for this show. So thank you, everybody, for listening and being with us. All right. We'll be back next week. A week against the NL Central. Cardinals are currently still winning against the Braves.
Yeah.
How fun would that be?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back next week. And until next week, go Cardinals.
Let's go Birds.